Hello, your single malt review on today's gin journey. We're going a long way away, but also staying very close to home.
Yeah, this one produced practically down the road. This is by Concept.
Yes.
Notable brewer, but clearly, and it's going around, clearly getting into a bit of distilling as well. And they have produced for us a Geneva gin. So right back to, I guess, the source, right back to where it all began, with Dutch-style Geneva. And we will see how that goes. Another one that I don't think I've ever tried, because I've always heard that, it's sweet, and sometimes it's barrel-aged, and often both, and I've gone, no. But no avoiding it this time, so see how we go.
This was a staple for the Dutch and their many colonies for, I believe, quite a number of decades, possibly centuries.
And I think I don't know, it's a staple anymore, but it's still, you still get it there, it's still popular. But certainly only in a niche kind of a thing. Doesn't really get out of country too often. And when it does, it's usually the weirdest of the wackest of the whack. So you're looking at your weird additives and weird barrel finishes and I don't know.
This one's exactly 40% ABV. Now, I've noticed quite a few of New Zealand's craft brewers have also been dabbling in gin. There have been some surprising ones out of various sources.
Yeah, well, you start making beer and you just you just need more. You need the stronger hit. I know it happened to me, so.
That's
this is
that's got quite a nose to it.
This smells a lot like you make malt spirit. Weirdly enough, there's a sort of a fresh off the still element to it, and then the rest is Juniper, just Juniper.
Anything on it, maybe it's pot stilled or something.
No, bugger all I think on that.
It's hard to tell.
I'm sure we could find out, but we're not going to. So there, drink it and find out. So there's nothing else for it. How do we go?
Whoa. Okay, I was speaking something sweet, but that is sharp. That has got a real
that tastes less sweet than the old Tom. I think there's a bit of give in the definitions, but
there's a fair bit of wiggle room. Yeah,
I would say this is the lightly sweetened I was expecting from the old Tom gin, rather than the heavily sweetened that I got.
Wow,
that's quite interesting.
Interesting aftertaste. It's got a hit of rhubarb. I don't know if it's rhubarb. I have no idea what is in aside from the gin basics, but that has got some real character.
It does, and if I didn't know it was 40, I would have said, wow, this is really strong. This has got a real fully taste buds punch on it that I was not expecting. This is very lively. There's a real... I would not be surprised if this was malt spirit, just because of that. There's a particular aroma to really new, as in straight off the still malt spirit, and this has got it.
Tried a few malt gins in our time, Thompson's and The Botanist out of Scotland, for instance, which are both very drinkable on their own.
But those ones, malt though they may have been, they've been distilled properly for gin. They've come out of a gin still. This has the smell of pot distilled. I think this might be ultra craft, just a little pot still like mine. Producing them that way, and knowing the scale of the brewery, very very small brewery, I wouldn't be surprised if this is all completely handmade, just as if you or I had produced it. So with a bit of ice here, looking for clouding up, maybe just a little, just a little bit of cloud there from whatever oils have gone in.
Well, I've added a splash of tonic water, and that is frankly amazing. That has enlivened the juniper, its citrus, the flavours of a malt spirit. It has gone places, and it tastes much less sweet than the old Tom did, and it's working in its favour.
I'd say it is much less sweet. That's that's a drier thing. Style be damned. So this is either a dry Jenever or that was a sweet old Tom, because that's a bit of an aberration there.
I guess it helps as a bit of wiggle room within the various varieties, not too strictly legally defined. There's always a room for it to surprise you and do something a bit different.
So
too constrained.
I agree that does make a pretty good GMT. As far as I am familiar with Geneva versus modern gin, and I'm not very. It's a lot more basic in its construction. It's a lot more about the juniper, and it really is all about the juniper. It does have the other compounds, but it doesn't have this complex nebula of flavouring things, and I think it foregoes the orris route as well, which is when you really, if you get all the way down the gin hole into how things work and why they work, the use of the orris root in distillation is really quite fascinating. It's pound for pound by far the most expensive thing used, but it doesn't really impart any flavour of its own. Orris root, if you've tried it, or orris root essence, is used in some very, if you're doing Indian cooking, the mega authentic tedious way, then orris root extract sometimes crops up, but otherwise you typically don't see it. But orris is interesting is that it's not really a flavour, it just tastes sort of mildly bitter really, it's a fixative. And that's a very easy thing to say. It's a very difficult thing to describe chemically. But the end result is it means flavours that would end up being lost as volatiles are more bound together with the core of the spirit and with each other and hang around. And so it allows you to capture and hold the more ethereal flavour compounds that might be lost during your distilling. They might go away with your feints, or they might just be so volatile that once you open the bottle they'll disappear like angry ghosts and you never see them again. But you know, with the once that orris goes in, it tends to hold them down. And any better explanation you will have to go to a real chemist for, because that's all you're going to get from me. But I assure you it is fascinating if you want to really take the trip and learn. But yeah, that's more of a periodic videos watch than a single malt review. A channel that I really recommend if you want to get down on your science. Anyway, I still don't think this is the gin for me, just because of that sweet component. But I can see, one, why they liked it in the cold weather, because that bit of sugar would kind of nourish you a wee bit, warm you up. And yeah, I can also see why gin moved in the direction that it did. Now tasting this and the Old Tom.
Going back 150 years, when you've got a lot of folks living in places that require a lot of quinine. I believe is it to combat malaria or something?
Yes.
And you need to consume a lot of quinine. You need something to make that taste good, and well, this would be your ticket, I guess.
Well, yeah. If you want British people to take their medicine, then dosing it with alcohol is a pretty surefire way to make it happen. So yes, yes, you can certainly see why how the whole GNT thing took off before it became the sort of institution that it has become today. Anyway, I think we've just about exhausted the conversation on Geneva. Interesting, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I expected. Maybe I expected something even more kind of primal than what I got. It really is gin, just a bit of a sort of a basic gin, I guess. Gin taken back in time somewhat, but definitely I like it more than the Old Tom, so I'll say that much for it. Definitely more me than that. But enough about this. It's time for. Oh, I've got one more quirky one. We'll save the quirky one. We've got a weird one in here, so we might try look at a craft gin next. Not that this isn't craft, but we'll try one that's come straight out of a distillery, a Scotch distillery. So something closer to our hearts than that. All right. Well, this has been us. You what, mate? And we'll be right back.